What it do, what it is. You already know what's up. I'm back and I'm better. I mean, I never left, but we here. I hope everybody's having a great day, night, weekend, whenever you're listening to this. I've been good. I've been chilling, trying to get my mind right. Still in Australia. Been here for almost coming up on 3 months. Next month, so like 2 months. I'm taking this time to really revisit my life, reevaluate, see what the heck I want to do. Reflecting on my first episode when I'm talking about doing things just to make money, I'm finding myself, like I said, in the same predicament. But now I'm looking at it as just doing it to get somewhere else. At the end of the day, we all got to pay bills, we all got to eat, we all got to sleep, we all got to, fend for ourselves and support ourselves. And if that's doing something that you don't want to be doing at this very moment, then it is what it is. You know what I mean? Just make sure, got to remind yourself to also do what you like to do in your spare time instead of just working, and then recover from work by doing something else, something you like. But as I'm reflecting and stuff, I'm gonna have to do what I gotta do. You know what I mean? And if that means that I gotta do what I don't like doing for a little bit, then that it is what it is. But gotta look at it as not the end all be all, a means to an end. Gonna do this to get somewhere in my life so that way I can switch, yeah, like I'm just gonna, I guess work my ass off doing some shit just to make the bread so that way I can put myself in a position to then eventually do what brings me joy and what makes me happy. So I guess it's more of a perspective change, just because you don't like doing what it is you're doing doesn't mean that you have to do it with a terrible attitude. You could do it with a positive attitude, a positive outlook, and know that it's not forever. It's just a means to an end. And that's how I'm kind of looking at it now. It's kind of how you have to look at it, because if not, you're just going to be unemployed and not making bread and, not surviving. So, yeah, it is what it is. This episode, I'm here to talk about friendships. Yes, friendships. Growing up, I feel like friendships kind of came easy to me. If you know me, like I'm super outgoing. I can make friends pretty easily. It's not that hard for me to make friends. I like talking to people. So I've always had people kind of gravitate towards me, or I don't know, just ease with connecting with people, I guess. And a lot of people may confuse me knowing a lot of people with me having a lot of friends, and that's not the case. I definitely know a lot of people. Like, I know a lot of people. I'm grateful for all the people that I do know. Obviously, I know them for a reason, and they came into my life for a reason, whether I'm close to them or not, But that doesn't mean that I have a lot of friends. And friends, I define as, like, people who I can have a good time with, first and foremost, but also where I can call on them if I need anything, if I'm sad, if I'm happy, if I have a flat tire, if, I need a couple bucks. Somebody who's going to really be there for me at my lowest, both at my lowest and at my highest. And I think that's pretty generic of a definition, but that's really what it is. Like, friends with this that align in the same values that I have. Friends who are going to uplift me, uplift each other, uplift strangers, people that they don't know. People who are kind. And yeah, you could say that about a lot of people, but there's a reason why you can be friends with somebody and I won't vibe with them the same way. We're all different people. So yes, I know a lot of people, but I don't have a lot of friends. Okay. I don't. I really don't. And sometimes, like, I find myself really thinking about who do I have that are actually my friends. Like, who are my friends for real? I could name people that I would like to think them as my friend. There's a very big distinction on, like, who you would want to be your friend, who is your friend, and who you think is your friend. Most of my life, I I haven't spent a lot of time or focus, I should say, attention on romantic relationships. Over the years, I've realized how much more important friendships are to your life than when compared to like romantic relationships. Romantic relationships, they're gonna come and they're gonna go, baby. Having a solid friend, even if it's one, having a solid friend, man, that's like uncomparable to any fucking relationship, man. Like, real shit. I mean, if you have a solid friend, you know what it's like. You know that they're there just because they like being there. They like you as a person. They like what you bring into their life. And it's just, a solid friend is just incomparable. But on that same token, friendship breakups hurt so much more than romantic breakups. I don't care what nobody has to say. There's nothing like a friendship breakup. That shit sucks. I would rather have 10 romantic breakups than one friendship breakup. It's like, damn, like we've had all these laughs and all this vulnerability and genuine moments that wasn't contingent on like romantic love or what you can do for me, and then it ends for whatever reason. It sucks. It fucking sucks. I've actually had one. We're friends now, Jennifer. Like, that's my best friend forever. But there was a time when we wasn't talking, and that was a wacky time. It sucked. It fucking sucked. I didn't really want to like get close to people, friends wise. I guess it is very similar to a romantic relationship in the ways that we cope, but yeah. And now being in a relationship, I've realized how much of your friendship quality and how you act in friendships reflects on your relationships. There's a lot of things that I would do in friendships or feel in friendships that I can also point out that I feel in romantic friendships. Like, I don't know, for example, like reassurance. In my friendships, not that I don't feel reassured or that I'm not aware that my friends are there because they love me, but I like jokingly, I'd be like, oh, like, tell me, love me, jokingly, right? But then in my relationships, I would also feel that same way. That goes like my faults and my strengths. Like, there's a lot of strength that I even developed or reinforced in my friendships that are now a super strength in a relationship. So I feel like friendships and romantic relationships go hand in hand because they're definitely an extension of one another. A true romantic relationship is nothing if it wasn't founded in friendship, or if you can't also consider somebody your friend in that romantic relationship. Like, if you can't consider your partner your friend before they're your partner, I don't know. I feel like that's like a wacky foundation that it's built on. You pick your friendships versus like your family. Like, you don't pick your mom, you don't pick your dad, you don't pick your cousins, your siblings, or whatever, but your brother's your brother regardless. Your sister is your sister regardless. Just because your sister is your sister doesn't mean that she's your sister and your friend. Your sister can just be your sister. There's a possibility of you not finding a friend in your sibling or in a relative. But to be able to find a friend in your relative, in your sibling, man, that's fucking lit. You know what I mean? So friendship is definitely an extension of all your relationships. And I guess in some circumstances, it can be looked at as an add-on as well. Man, a solid friend is incomparable. Real shit. Having good friends in your life is definitely a fucking cheat code. Friends that actually support you, like really support you in all your endeavors, in your faults, in everything. Friends that encourage you, that don't enable you, friends that genuinely want to see the best for you and in you. I feel like in every one of my close friends is a piece of myself. So whenever I feel like I am losing myself or I'm like losing passion or whatever, I can talk to a friend of mine and know that they see a version of me that I don't see myself at the moment. And that helps me get out of that headspace. It uplifts me in a way that is inspiring. I could have one friend and they can see one thing in me that can uplift me, but I can go to another friend, and because everybody gets a different version of you, right? Because everybody has a different perception of you in their head, they can see a totally different side of you that is also inspiring and encouraging. And that just speaks on the layers of ourselves and the layers of relationships in general, But having friends is just a reflection of you. Like my mom always said, you're only a reflection of the people around you. And I'm sure that's like a quote somewhere, but that's dead true. And if you have solid friends around you, they're solid people. And when you're down, like, they're going to do their best at uplifting you and making you feel like you are that bitch, you know? There's a reason why you're friends with solid people. You know, you're solid. If they're solid, but if they're questionable and you're questionable, you might think they're solid. But that's a whole other minefield there. I've come out of some really, really dark times because of my friends. And it's not even something that they said. If I'm upset and I just hit somebody up like, hey, let's hang out. And we don't have to be doing anything, but that'll make me feel so much better. Having solid friends that you can just chill with, get your head out of a space that you don't want to be in is a cheat code. You're never alone. And I keep saying this, like, you're never alone in whatever you feel. And you're never alone generally, like physically. There's a cajillion people on this earth. You're never alone. Doesn't mean that you don't feel alone, but you are never alone. And so when in those dark moments, when I felt alone, when I felt that I had nobody in my corner, I would hang out with a friend and we would like fucking go out to eat or something. And I'd feel 100 times better. I also learned a lot about myself because of my friends, you know, not because they were telling me, but because I saw a lot of faults in me with my friends. I care about my friends so much. Like, I love my friends and I would never want to disappoint them or make them feel away. So I always try to be my best self for my friends. I owe it to my friends to be the best version of myself because I want to be the best friend to them. In my friendships, I recognize my own faults and I'm like, oh shit, like I want to change that because they don't deserve that side of me. They don't deserve that. So I'm constantly tweaking myself. What the heck? Anyway, I'm constantly tweaking myself so that I can be a better friend. And in turn, I'm growing within myself. You know, I'm making these adjustments, yeah, sure, for my friendships, but it makes me a better person for myself too. Which makes me think about the fact that a lot of people think they have good friends, but they aren't really good friends. You can tell by the way that person is. You know, like if your friend isn't clocking your shit, isn't telling you like, yo, you're bugging, you got to change this, like what is you don't have good friends around you. Good friends don't enable you. Good friends will clock your fucking tea, okay? They'll tell you about yourself because they want to see you be the best version of yourself. So if your friends aren't telling you about yourself, something is wrong. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Your friends got to hold you accountable to the standards that they set for themselves and that they set for you. But if they have very low standards for themselves, they're going to hold you to their standard, that's an issue of themselves because now it's up to you to exercise your discernment and recognize that, oh, wait, they're not living up to the expectations that they're setting me or the standards that they're setting me. So why kind of just makes you want to reevaluate your circle a little bit. Know what I mean? I think it's an issue when we think that our long-standing friendships are good because they're long-standing. Just because you've been friends with somebody for 10 plus years doesn't mean that they're a good friend. Doesn't mean that at all, actually. There's no correlation there. I feel like we constantly have to reevaluate our circle and the people that we surround ourselves with because the long-standing ones are the more dangerous ones in the fact that you can become comfortable in your own situation, in your own environment because of the people around you. You may not want more for yourself because your closest friends are very comfortable in where they're at. And that's their journey. That's their story. If they're comfortable, then they're comfortable and that's fine. But if you're not comfortable, you shouldn't be surrounding yourself with people who are comfortable because you should always want to keep growing. You should always put yourself in uncomfortable situations so that you can grow. That goes on to say also, if your friend is constantly complaining about their situation, does nothing to change the situation, and then you find yourself in a situation where you feel like you want more for yourself and don't do nothing about it, birds of a feather flock together, baby. Like you literally are who you surround yourself with. I've had times where I really had to like clock myself and separate myself and make drastic decisions and changes in my life because I wanted more for myself. And sometimes I felt like I wasn't being pushed. And that's a problem for me because I could push myself, but sometimes I'm stagnant. Like, I'm only human, you know what I mean? Sometimes I do get comfortable. But having people to remind you, like, yo, bro, this is not for you. Remember that, like, you're destined for great things. You're destined for better things, bigger things. You're getting too comfortable. Push. And seeing my friends also push isn't a motivation for me. So if I see people just stuck, I'm not going to lie, like, it's discouraging, you know? And that's a huge reason why I took a fucking move to across the country, knowing nobody. I felt like I was just so tired of my environment, of my situation, of feeling like I can't change it when I can. And that's another thing. If your friends aren't changing the situation, it makes you think that you can't change it either. It was just one day I woke up and I'm like, nah, fuck this, bro. Fuck this. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna move to LA and I'm gonna be fine. And when people were calling me crazy, when people were like, yo, you're gonna come back. And maybe if I did come back, I did come back. But like, I literally took the step that people wouldn't normally take because they're scared. That because they're so comfortable in the situation that I literally had to just throw myself to the wolves and figure it the fuck out. And am I thankful that I did that? Because, yo, real shit, if I didn't, who knows, like, I still would have been fucking macking in the car smoking, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it's still like, yo, especially when you know that you're better than that and you just keep finding yourself in the same positions, same situations, like, it's like very annoying. It's frustrating. At some point, when I say how did that, like, you get tired of shit and you're like, nah, fuck this, like, I'm gone. And that's what I had to do, because if not, I felt like I was just gonna be in that same cycle, and I did not want that for myself. So that's why having great friends who support you, who believe in you, who encourage you, who are also taking the steps to change their life is super important, man, because it's so easy to get comfortable and stagnant. It's so easy, especially nowadays, because with social media and stuff, I feel like a lot of people consume more content than they live their life. So then they get comfortable without even realizing it, you know? So it's important to have people in your corner to remind you to push, always push. Everything happens at everybody's own pace. You know, there's no specific and correct timeline for everybody's life. People go through shit at their own pace whenever they feel like they should. And but that's to say, a lot of the times people won't encourage you to do things because they feel comfortable in their own life, you know, and you attempting to change your life is almost like a reflection on theirs. And they're like, oh shit, wait, no, I'm comfortable in mine, so you shouldn't be changing yours, because if you change yours, that means you're not comfortable with your life, which means I shouldn't be comfortable in mine. And then that means that they have to make a change. I swear, like, nothing is ever about you. Everything is always about, I swear. I told my therapist this the other day. I said, nothing's personal, but everything is personal. Everything that people tell you is what they're telling themselves. So just because they're comfortable in their life doesn't mean that they're being malicious consciously to you and your journey. It's just a reflection on what they feel on their life about themselves, you know? So we have to be careful on, like, people that are projecting ideas or beliefs onto you and then you taking it as your own. No, people tell you stuff or project stuff on you, it's because they feel that within themselves. So never take anything personal. Know that it's personal for them. You know what I mean? Clock that. But then comes the question of, like, how do you find friends who can do that for you? You know, who can be a good friend? Because like I said, I know a lot of people. I know a ton of people. Doesn't mean that they're good friends. To me anyway. I just know a lot of people. Sometimes it's very hard for me to exercise my own discernment when it comes to people, because I think that everybody is the same as me. I think everybody thinks like me. I think everybody has the same heart as me, and that's not the case. And I'm sure everybody knows that, you know, like, I'm sure everybody's been burned, backstabbed, or even just made aware that people don't have the same intentions as you, you know? So I think it's about really seeing people's true colors and not projecting what you want them to be for you. Like, if somebody shows you that they're not a good friend, then they're not a good friend. Don't try to like justify it. Don't try to manipulate it because you want them to be a good friend. No, take it for what it is and move accordingly. But I'm also a victim of that. People would show me their true colors and I'd be like, oh no, they're just maybe going through something. Oh no. Or I'll try to justify it in any way. And then I get surprised when they end up being a terrible friend. It's really important that we do that, especially as we grow older, because people are living their own lives. People are on their own journeys, and it's so easy to project onto other people, especially subconsciously, because most of the time we're not doing that consciously. It's very subconscious. And it's also easy in turn for people to then take that as their own. Very important for you to find people that you vibe with and that speak life into you like they speak life into themselves. Even the bad friends, though, even the people that do stab you in the back and burn you, they're essential to your growth and to your journey and to your story. We find people at certain points in our life when we're meant to meet them. Even if you do get burned at the end, many of the friends you had when you were younger probably don't have them in your life anymore because they no longer align to where you are in your life. Anybody who's burned you, or if you've had a bad experience with somebody, you met them at the time that you were supposed to meet them, and you were hurt at the time you were supposed to be hurt. Because now, hindsight is 2020, but now you can look back and notice the red flags and maybe not make the same mistakes. We always meet people at the exact time that we're going to meet them, and sometimes people run their course. Sometimes we're not meant to be in people's lives forever. You can have a 10-year plus friendship and then it can end, and then that would be that. And it's not that maybe they did something wrong, maybe you guys just fell out. Some people just run their course, and that's fine. Some people are not meant to be with you all your life. Sometimes people are just meant to be there for a little bit, and then they bounce, and you learn what you did from them, and that's it. Every person that you meet, friend or not, meets you and holds a version of you in their mind, and then they refer to this version of you in their mind whenever somebody mentions your name. It's like, let's say you had beef with someone, and then you're like, damn, I don't know how people could be friends with her, blah blah blah. Well, you met a version of her or him, and other people meet different versions of them. I can only imagine in how many people's lives that I'm the villain. I mean, I'm a good person, and I don't need nobody else to tell me that, because I know that I'm a good person. But I don't know how many people who have me as a villain in their lives, and I'm not one to change it. That's none of my business. That is none of my business. But we are the villain in somebody's story, and that is our job. Regardless, people are gonna grow, and people might use you to grow, and that's their business. That's none of your business. If me being a villain in your story makes you grow or makes you not grow, that is your business. And I wish you well, and I hope you can grow. Wish you nothing but the best. Literally, I'm not even subbing anybody. I literally don't know. Can't let that hinder the way we see ourselves and the way we think other people see us. All we can do is show up and try to be the best person that we can every single day. That's all we can do. Somebody's going to take it the wrong way eventually, regardless, because, like I said, people project what they feel about themselves and about their reality onto everybody else, and that's how they get their own reality. That's how we all get our own reality. Our reality are just projections of what we feel about ourselves, of our inner world. So hey, like I said, that's none of my business, okay? But shout out to all of my real friends. Like, I genuinely love y'all. And what's really crazy is that a lot of the close friends, or the people that I do consider friends, I only met them within the last couple years, like the last probably 3-4 years maybe. So that's not to say that we don't have a long tenure of friendship. You don't need time to tell you if somebody is a great friend. Yes, you do sometimes. And actually, you know what? I might scratch that, because you probably do. But just because you've been friends with somebody for 2 years doesn't mean that they're not a good friend, And just because you've been with somebody for 10 years or been friends with somebody for 10 years doesn't mean that they are a good friend. So time can be a measure, but it can also be a deterrent because, man, I've had this talk with my mom a lot of the time. Like, just because somebody has been your friend for 10 plus years does not mean that they're your best friend, doesn't mean that they're a good friend. And just because you met somebody 5 months ago doesn't mean that they're not a good friend. You know, it's all in the actions, it's all in how people contribute to your life and how they contribute to theirs as a result. Definitely been homesick, been missing my friends, and started getting me thinking about the topic of friendship and what friendship means and the importance of friendship in life. Like, if I didn't have my friends, bro, I'd be assed out. I don't even know where I'd be. In a ditch somewhere. I'm so grateful for my friends. That's why it worries me when people are like, oh, I don't need friends. I don't need nobody. Like, I'm on my shit, blah, blah, blah. You need friends. And people who don't have friends, I'm scared of y'all. Genuinely, I'm staying so far away from you if you don't have any friends. Because now it makes me feel like something's wrong with you. Like, why don't you have friends? Why don't you have people to vouch for you? Get you some friends, because friends are literally my lifeline. My friends are definitely my lifeline, and if I didn't have my friends, man, I'd be one sad girly pop. Okay? But yeah, I hope everybody is flourishing and being 1% better every single day. I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. And also, thank you so much for the fucking support that I've been getting. Like, even if 3 people watch this, I love you. Shout out Chazly. Shout out Chaz, because she's been commenting on everything. And man, I just love my friends, for real. Get you some friends. Not mine, but get you some friends. I can cry talking about my friends. Okay. Anyway, love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't watched my other ones, watch my other ones because they're gold. My favorite one is the second episode. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. See you on the next one. Goodbye.